All right, I think we're live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in the chat can hear me, just push one. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 516. Black Tech Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in. Share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust when those posted on the community tab. There's a doc in the description beneath the video for you to follow along with. If you want to engage in this discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and invite and advance you to the panel. Before joining the panel and clicking on that link, make sure you update your Zoom client because a software update did go out this week for it. So make sure you do that before joining. Also, if you're trying to get into IT for the first time at the entry level, we do offer IT mentorship here. If you are going from one IT role to another, we do offer IT coaching, as well as any concerns over a resume, cover letter, or wages and salary. We do offer advice in that area as well. If you're in the tri-state area and you're looking for IT, the Goal 11 does have recs on the table. The link is in the chat. If you want to engage, we'll get started in a few seconds. All right, let me acknowledge all the people in the chat who just show up. Phantom Mute, peace. Floyd L. Hope, peace to you as well. Mugen Black, peace to you. Aquateki, greetings. Bloodsport, peace to you. All right, we can get started, man. See if anybody's trying to get on. Nope. All right. First item on the docket is from CompTIA.org. What is DoD 8140, Cybersecurity Certifications and Requirements? Let's chop this up real quick. In 2005, the U.S. Department of Defense sent out to assess and manage its cybersecurity workforce with DoD Directive 8570. In 2015, it was replaced with DoD Directive 8140. And as discussed in our article on the difference between 8570, 8140, and 8570.01-M, DoD 8570.01-M outlines which cybersecurity certifications are approved to validate the skills for certain job roles. Today, we're going to dive into the updated directive, DoD Directive 8140. DoD 8140 replaces 8570 to expand covered work roles. 8570 was created to identify, tag, track, and manage the information assurance or cybersecurity workforce. According to the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, DoD 8140 comprises of reissues and renumbers DoD 8570 to update and expand established DoD policies and assign responsibilities for managing the DoD cyberspace workforce. Authorizes the establishment of a DoD cyberspace workforce management council to ensure that the requirements of this directive are met. Unifies the overall cyberspace workforce and establishes specific elements to align, manage, and standardize work roles, baseline qualifications, and training requirements. DoD 8140 expands on the DoD 8570 to leverage the defensive cybersecurity workforce Framework, DCWF, which draws from the original National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education, NICE, Cybersecurity Workforce Framework, NCWF, and the DoD Joint Cyberspace Training and Certification Standards, JCTNCS. 7 DoD cybersecurity job categories. The DCWF defines 7 broad job categories, including 33 specialty areas and 54 work roles. Cyber personnel categories and additional work roles were added from the NICE framework. So what they're saying is that there's at least in cybersecurity, there's at least 54 positions that could be taken. These are the 7 job categories shared by both frameworks. Security provision may include jobs such as architecture, engineering, operations that include information assurance, compliance, software, security engineering, system development, research, etc. Number 2, operate and maintain. This may include customer service, tech support, data administration, knowledge management, network service, and security analysis. Protect and defend is number 3. This involves defense against cyber attacks, defense analysis, incident reporting, vulnerability assessment, and related areas. Number 4, analyze. This pertains to the different types of network analysis, resource intelligence, exploitation analysis, threat analysis, etc. Operate, collect. This is defined as applicable to cyber operations and planning, collection operations, planning, and implementation. Number 6 is oversight and development. This pertains to the legal consequences of conducting operations in the digital realm with emphasis on planning, education, and awareness. Number 7, this is relevant to investigations. 7 is investigate. This is relevant to investigations and forensic work as it relates to online security and related issues. So typically in most organizations, private organizations, Bank of America, so on and so forth, they don't really break down their security department this way. Usually roles 1, 2, and 3 are blue team, what we call blue team. And roles 4 and 5 would be considered threat intelligence, threat operations, threat intelligence, and compliance. So let me advance complex design, and then investigate. That's all forensics. Usually forensics is on this side, below 4, 5, and 6. So if they fall within that same category, but you always have a dedicated person who kind of drives the process. This is actually pretty good how they laid it out, but most organizations aren't going to be able to follow that, especially if they can't afford, the personnel to facilitate this. So how to become DoD 8140 compliant? Most DoD organizations must be in 8140 compliance. This means that DoD information assurance and cybersecurity personnel must obtain one of the cyber IT certifications listed in DoD 8570.01-M for their category and level. The DoD Cyber Exchange outlines the 4 steps to obtaining a DoD 8570 baseline certification. Identify your position, level, and IT certification requirements within IA workforce information assurance. Number 2, train for your IT certification following your organization's protocols. Number 3, request a certification voucher. Number 4, notify your IA manager when you've completed your training and earned your certification. I mean, I think that's kind of a very basic approach. I think most people do that. Especially now, you can link your certifications to your LinkedIn account and so on and so forth. I really wish they would put all of this on the blockchain. I really wish they would do that. This will make it much, much easier to pull up an app and actually see where everybody is certified and what kind of, how you can track your CPEs and whatnot. Because there's a lot of things that we do from a CPE standpoint that we don't get credit for, and we should get credit for.
What's going on, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, dude?
Chilling.
At the time of this writing, DoD 8140 approved certifications are listed in DoD 8570.01-M. DoD 8570.01-M is still in use and actively managed by the DoD. A DoD 8140 manual is expected to be released in the next year. CompTIA is well represented in the list of approved required IT certifications under DoD 8140. There is not currently a DoD 8140 chart, but DoD 8570.01-M lists which IT certifications are approved for which job categories under DoD 8570 and 8140. For a complete list of approved certifications, click here. Read about DoD approval for CompTIA Cybersecurity and Analyst Plus, and CompTIA Advanced Security Practitioner Plus and Cloud Plus, which I have those certifications. So let's go down the list. IAT level 1, IAT level 2, IAT level 3, information assurance technical or technician. Level 1 is A plus and network plus. Level 2 is security plus and sys plus, or CISA plus. And level 3 is CAS plus. So you're good in those areas if you can pass any of those certifications. DoD is pretty strict. You have to get the certification within 30 to 45 days if you don't already have it. Information assurance management, IAM level 1, level 2, level 3. CompTIA, security plus for level 1 and cloud plus for level 1. Level 2 is CAS plus. So they don't have a CompTIA equivalency for level 3. Information and security architecture and engineering, IASAE 1, 2, and 3. So for level 1, it's CAS plus, and level 2 is CAS plus. And cybersecurity service provider, CSSP, analyst, CSSP, CompTIA, CISA plus, CSSP, infrastructure support, Cloud Plus and CISA Plus, Incident Responder, CISA Plus, and Pen Test Plus. CSSP Auditor, CompTIA, Cloud Plus, CISA Plus, and Pen Test Plus. I find it to be very interesting. I would have thought that Network Plus would have been in the analyst as well, or at least in infrastructure. I would have thought that would have been in there, or Server Plus. Maybe the new Server Plus will probably land in there at some point, but I would definitely have thought that Network Plus should have fallen in there.
Why do you say that? Just curious.
Because Network Plus covers a lot of network administration, and when you're a service provider, in terms of cybersecurity, you do have to understand network architecture and network infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
So I would have thought that from an infrastructure support standpoint, Network Plus would have been tossed in there, but I guess not. Maybe the new iteration of Network Plus would be put in there. But very interesting. I don't know. Maybe this is still pending because it's 8570.01-M. 8140 hasn't been completely defined. DoD 81, what's the difference between 8570 and 8140? DoD 8140 is the updated version of DoD 8570 and was created to expand the work roles covered. DoD 8570.0-M is the manual that lists the IT certification requirements. The new DoD 8140 manual is expected to be published within the next year and will identify new requirements. Details are unknown at the time. See, and there it is, right? It's still unknown. It's still in the air. You may not really know what's going on. Stay tuned for one more article that dives into 8570.01-M, where we'll tackle the 8570.01-M job categories and discuss the manual's goals in more detail. Yeah, this it's really interesting. I think it's time for CompTIA to really step up the Network Plus and go to a more advanced network architecture certification. It's because networking is still open source. You still have software-defined networks, SDNs. So that's still really, really, really new, even though it's in current use in cloud in terms of AWS and Microsoft Azure and OpenStack and Rackspace and stuff like that, DigitalOcean. CompTIA has to level up the Network Plus. They have to level up a IoT Plus certification as well, and electric vehicle plus and stuff like that, because, well, I would just probably say IoT Plus, but they need goals beyond A plus, because you have all these IoT devices flooding the market. 1 billion plus devices just this year alone. 1 billion, not a million, but 1 billion is going out this year, 2020. By 2022, you're talking 20 billion IoT devices will be in the field with the emergence of 5G. I don't know what CompTIA is doing. I have been called in for with CompTIA for updating some of their certifications. So I'll see if I can run some of this stuff by them, since I've passed most of their certifications. But I just think that they're missing the boat on this as well. There's a lot that's going to come out of IoT that's going to be really critical.
We're going to cover it tomorrow from a micro transport angle.
Mm-hmm.
Just even given a lot of what's going on now, we have a lot of devices ourselves that could be repurposed and integrated into an IoT environment. We have all of that right now, so it's that's what we're going to cover tomorrow.
All right, if anybody wants to join the panel, definitely feel free to click on the link if you have some questions. I see we have about 35 people watching, only about 16 likes. Please hit the like button if you're not already done so. If you're not going to engage in the discussion, it's greatly appreciated. It helps drive the algorithm here. All right, let me move on to the next article. All right, next item on the docket from CIO.com. IT automation shakes up the entry-level career path. The advent of IT automation and desire for more meaningful work is transforming how CIOs think about internal talent pipelines and entry-level IT work. Yeah, we've been talking about this.
What, like the entry-level jobs in this new market, or in this new paradigm? Yep.
No, what automation is going to do to the entry-level guys. Entry-level people.
Oh, yeah, specifically. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. Workers entering IT have traditionally paid their dues by spending a year or 3 doing grunt work, manning customer service lines, resolving support tickets, provisioning hardware, and performing manual data entry, among other tasks. But as automation takes over many of these menial IT tasks, CIOs and IT workers are having to rethink the traditional IT career path, beginning with entry-level IT, with the entry-level IT job. The hard truth is that, yes, some jobs and roles will no longer be necessary thanks to automation, but this is not a new phenomenon, says Joseph Kwan, CEO of people analytics startup Twine. Any job of innovation goes this way, Kwan says. If you know anything about the history of or the labor market as far back as the printing press or more recently the ATM, you can't get around that. At the lower levels, jobs will be lost. Kwan says the movement of lower level work for to self-service or automation as being a trend a trend that has been evolving in IT for years. At a macro level, we're seeing a lot of organizations pushing to replace those lower level roles with automation technology, he says. But this shift has a silver lining. Many of the people filling roles ripe for automation are being upskilled into higher level, higher paid work that's just as critical, Kwan says. I don't know why this is not allowing me to log in. Let me log in for a second.
Hey, Mike, did you, while you're doing that question, did you hear about this proposal for this new round of stimulus?
What about it?
It's supposed to be basically they're talking about like a monthly stipend where they send everyone like a debit card.
Oh yeah.
What does that sound?
Well, we don't need that. I mean, what about inflation?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, bro. Let's stay on topic.
What's going on here, Alexander?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, brother, peace.
All right, let me finish reading this real quick.
All right.
Yeah.
So, many of the early adopters and companies are doing a lot of thinking and strategizing about the potential negative impact of automation, and they are doing workforce planning and investing in upskilling and reskilling, training and education before they shift to this model, he says. Take BMC Software, for example. This enterprise software company has automated its level 1 IT support, moving its first tier support pros up the hierarchy to more meaningful work. Like most large enterprises, BMC supports customers by using a hierarchical model in which unresolved requests are escalated to successfully higher tiers. While logical and efficient in theory, BMC found the structure to be a drain on resources with higher level personnel, software engineers, developers, and the like. Having to split the time between activities focused on innovation and driving better customer value to address frontline support issues, the result inefficiencies, higher costs, lower engagement and morale, and finally higher attrition rates. In addition, the approach muddied the waters for IT workers looking to chart a career path upward at BMC. 3 years ago, BMC dug into its data and found that 38% of the support requests were being powered up to the company's level 3 support organization. The people that we have at those levels had to then do a lot of context switching, says Scott Crowder, CIO at BMC. They should be working on some of the 60-ish key business initiatives we do every year, or even some of these smaller projects. But they have to go from I'm working on the next big thing to now I have to go back and refamiliarize myself with what we did 6 months ago, 6 months or a year ago. And that was disruptive. Building a more robust level 2 support organization and leveraging automation to take care of many level 1 support tasks would help increase efficiencies, reduce costs, and create a more meaningful career path within the organization, the latter of which has offered the added benefit of improving BMC's ability to attract and retain talent, especially from younger generations, as well as boosting engagement and morale. Younger generations, high expectations. Most IT talent from generations entering the workforce have higher expectations about the type and quality of work they are capable of doing, says Vijay Kirkle, CEO of Resolve Systems. That's also changing how they and the companies that hire them view an IT career path. A lot of Gen Z and even millennials don't want to start with these rote jobs. I'm not sure what that means. I think that's misspelled. The new generations in the workforce have been engaged with tech their whole lives, and the expectations they have for tech and for the type of work they want to be doing are higher. They want to make an impact. Kirkle also notes that younger IT workers want more automation in the workplace to free themselves up to do meaningful, purposeful work. And they fear that if they land repetitive roles, they won't be retained, nor will they want to, because it'll be a dead end, and they won't move up. Kirkle says we as employers have to rise to that. As such, automation can have an impact on many of the pressures today CIOs face, both intangibles such as morale, productivity, turnover, and retention, and the constant need to innovate and carve out efficiencies with limited budgets. Automation is the only way you can circumvent a lot of this pressure, says Kirkle. Kirkle says, when people think about automation, there's a lot of fear and doubt about how automation is going to kill jobs. But in this environment, we see a lot of the opposite. There's actually a huge shortage of IT talent, and automation is also easing that. Automation is helping companies better use the bodies they already have while also easing the pressure to hire more people. Automation doesn't occur in a vacuum. In fact, every entry-level IT pros are in a unique position to identify areas for automation and outline the steps needed to make that automation a reality, Kirkle says. Nothing can be automated without first codifying and explaining the process, he says. That has been the case at Fujitsu, where level one support technicians have become more subject matter experts whose knowledge and experience with customers, processes, policies, and technology have helped direct higher level engineers and developers in creating automation workflows, says Angela Abbott, automation and big data analysis capability owner at Fujitsu Live Services. They became automation evangelists, Abbott says. We're using their knowledge and experience as well as their ongoing relationship with customers, customers' environments to help deliver greater value for everyone. Fujitsu frontline tech support pros have been key in creating virtual agents, she says. Those folks became content builders. Sounds familiar. They took service requests from phone or email systems and input those conversations into our automated systems to build out a decision tree. Once that was done, it integrates into our ServiceNow platform. So we are developing these processes and services with people we already have, and they are driving the automation journey. See, you can't just come in here and say, I have a certification anymore. That's not enough. You got to be able to know Python. You got to be able to know some of the other areas. For BMC, bringing automation solutions the company offers its external customers in-house has been a boon for its support operation. We're driving the task down from level 3 to level 2 to level 1, and finally 0, automate or retire. And that removes the mundane tasks, so IT can free themselves to focus on meaningful work, strategic business imperatives, and value-added functions, Crowder says. Moreover, it is reshaping the career path for employees beginning at the entry level. The company now offers a continuous learning path based on a dojo and belt structure to help progress employees' careers, Crowder says. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. We bring in fresh graduates and they work on the level 1 stuff for 6, 8, or 12 months to prove themselves and show their willingness to learn, he says. They are trained also by our level 2 people, and then they get moved up the stack. Thus far, we've had about 3 dozen folks come in and move up to level 3 organization this way. The dojo system ensures that at any given time, employees are ready to take on more advanced roles up, Crowder says. For example, any service desk worker can find a suitable opening within level 2 or level 3 organization as a business analyst, technical support analyst, or technology specialist. Service desk personnel can also move into service management by completing ITIL certification. We talked about that before.
Hey, Mike, I was going to say, you know, the company I work for, that is exactly how it is. You can, if you show proficiency, bro, you can like move up so quick.
It is also developing a solid talent pipeline within the organization and improving retention rates. BMC's attrition rate is currently holding around 8% to 10%, lower than the IT's average churn of 13% and significantly lower than the 17% to 23% rate for large IT service firms such as Wipro and Cognizant. Highly skilled and highly compensated engineers don't want to work in the past, Crowder says. The initiative over the last few years is about doing more with and for the people we have so that we can retain and grow them, as well as focusing on innovation and delivering great customer value. The rapid acceleration of innovation and change is making IT automation an inevitability. Understanding how best to leverage IT automation while keeping workers and customers happy will differentiate the good from the great technology companies in the years ahead. Yeah, this is very true. I do like the dojo style approach where you do have to spar, because some companies, you can move up. If at Dell, if you have a master's degree, you can take a senior role or a principal analyst role without no experience. And so that has its pluses and its minuses, its pros and its cons. But I do like the dojo style setup because it forces people to spar in a way that develops their skill set. But then there's other areas. If you go on Glassdoor reviews, you can see that many people have spent time, had some tenure at some companies and they have never moved up, not because they weren't capable to, but because of the politics. So there's certain things that we just have to be mindful for, that when we have these discussions. I know a lot of people who come to this channel and come to these tech talks are at the entry level. So you gotta understand, it's cool to have the A+, but you gotta learn PowerShell. You gotta learn Bash. These things matter. 80% of your servers in the market run off of Linux or Unix of some sort. 20% might be Microsoft, your domain controllers and your Exchange servers and stuff like that. Fine. But when it comes to the entry level, you got to take into consideration, you got to be able to solder, you got to be able to do different things. People who can work with their hands need to demonstrate that they can actually be useful in other areas. Like I said, I had a buddy who worked at Ford on the assembly line for about 10 years or so. He went back to school at night and got his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering. I think he did a double, like a computer engineering or something else. And he ended up getting a role at Intel. One, because his background of working with his hands at Ford on the assembly line, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but also because he had that academic background in computer engineering, electrical engineering, electronics engineering. He ended up being a lithography technician for Intel in Arizona, making 2 to 3 times more than what he was making at Ford. Lithography technicians are the guys who put the CPUs together for computers. So the guys who drop the wafers for the chips. He's the guy who's in charge of that type of stuff, or that's what he works on. This is the type of stuff that organizations look at. What is your background? What else can you do? You don't want to get stuck on help desk and you haven't really improved, the process at help desk. And so that stuff really matters, and they got to pick your brain for some of that stuff. Dion is down. Dion, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, nothing in particular. I just been pretty much learning from you guys, giving these talks. But that last article just really opened up my eyes to the possibilities of still being able to get work when things are being automated, like they said, and having that whole dojo thing. Do you think it knocks out a good amount of that political thing that goes on in the workplace as far as moving up?
Yeah, definitely. I would say that Dell, and I don't work for Dell. I'm just making this point that Dell also has a similar approach, internal training and stuff like that. I haven't seen anybody else really do that. But the dojo style approach is really, really dope. That you're a black belt here, you're a yellow belt, you're, so on and so forth. So I think that that's actually a better approach. I also think that, guys who are coming into people who are coming into the entry level, I should say, reading actually helps. Knowing IoT, knowing machine learning, and just having a better understanding of what these technologies are capable of doing and how you can apply that in the environment in your job interview is actually going to be beneficial, because now you can you got to be able to control the conversation in the interview. Don't let them control the conversation where they say, well, what do you know this? Do you know that? No, well, guess what? I worked on microtransportation, for a very high, $2 billion valued startup on e-scooters, and this is what we did, and this is how we improved the process, and so on and so forth. That stuff translates into the workspace.
I believe that 100%. Like, I feel like, one, if we are in this industry, we should be somewhat excited anyway to learn about these things, even just on just brushing up on it, like you just said.
Yeah, definitely. So many people jump into the and the article is pointing this out, right? There's a higher expectation of what what Zennials and stuff are looking for. Well, yeah, because they don't want to answer phones. They want to do something more, but they don't always have that skill set. So how do you develop that skill set? Sometimes you have to walk that path. You have to do the help desk for 6 months. It is what it is. Some people just don't want to do it, especially the Zennials. So
yeah, that would just be skipping steps and not really paying your dues then, right?
Yeah, to an extent. It's different for us because, Gen Xers and boomers, we came in, through a different path, through the traditional path, but the Zennials are looking at this, and then the millennials are looking at this like, why should I answer a phone? Why should I, help somebody resolve a ticket? Like, no.
Well, Mike, but a lot of that has to do with lack of soft skills, right? Because that's kind of like the part of your professional development, and we largely kind of like sidestep that part. You developing your abilities to work with others, and deal with people, different types of personalities and stuff. I think that there's either a lack of focus on that, or they just intrinsically don't understand why you have to develop that at that beginning stage in order for you to move up. Because see, as you move up, you're going to have to deal with more complex problems and issues. And, you'll probably have to bump heads with bigger egos, because now these are people that are at parity with you, or maybe even above you, and you have to know how to deal with not conflict, but just differences in ideas in terms of processes, right? And problem solving. And you have to be able to resolve things, right? So be able to come to a medium or find a resolution in conflict. Okay. That's what, on the lower level, like if you can't even deal with a ticket, bro, like why do you think you're going to be able to do anything, getting into L2 and L3?
Well, and that's a good point, because millennials, especially Zennials, tend to be very disconnected from social interactions. Now social distancing has also played a significant role and how people interact with each other, especially at that age level, that age bracket. And so when you have to deal with a customer or a client or incoming request, and you had this sort of attitudinal response to it, that doesn't really play very well, because then in some environments you have they've adopted the Facebook thumbs up and thumbs down approach, and yeah, you get a lot of thumbs downs, you can kiss your job goodbye. You may find yourself being wayward. But millennials and zennials are not really staying at one job per se. They're really adopting the gig culture in terms of tech. And so, yeah, they may go entry level for a few months and then they ghost. I mean, we read an article last year about ghosting. Millennials and zennials ghosting jobs, not responding to emails, not showing up for work. Crazy.
Right. Like how do you build relationships like that, especially in the tech world? Isn't it mostly you getting jobs?
Hey, wait, hey Mike, check this out, dude. So like, we had a meeting. We had a meeting like it was earlier this week, and my boss was like, "Yo, I need you guys to explain to me how did we have like 10 no calls, 10 no shows last week?" I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "That's unheard of." Well, at least in my experience, bro. Okay, in working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 42 years old. I literally started like working in my first job was it was a tech job basically. I worked in an icebox. Shows you how old school I am, man. I worked in an icebox back in '95 at age 18. Actually 17. It was before my 18th birthday. And from that time up until today, okay, dude, like no calls, no shows. That was one of those things where you were just like, okay, damn, you just didn't call in at all. And it wasn't commonplace. And then my boss was like, yo, we had 10 of them last week. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, how do y'all just do that?
Because it's the hookup culture. You kind of, girl ghosts you, you ghost her. There's no sort of real, plenty of fish, tender type.
I think it's that social thing you said as well, like not even being able to have the conversation with the boss and tell them that you're leaving and things like that.
Yeah, can't make eye contact. That's a big thing for millennials. They don't look at you in the eyes.
They don't look at you in the face. Yeah.
It's a real introverted culture. Very introverted.
I mean, I know about the whole social distancing and all that stuff now, but like even like handshakes, dude, I don't get like firm handshakes. Hands be all soft and shit. Like, dude, like
all that shea butter. All right, let me jump to this next article. We got Keep It Techie on the panel as well.
Yeah, what up, Josh?
All right, this is from CompTIA.org. IT generalist versus IT specialist, how to choose. So there's one in every workplace, a jack of all trades. That IT generalist who knows a little bit about everything is praised for being an informed resource and has a very broad, comes to mind. Maybe it's even you. Having knowledge on a variety of topics is great, but is it perhaps better to be specialized in one specific tech topic instead? We're here to compare being an IT list to help you determine whether you want to set yourself up as a jack of all trades or a master of one. The benefits of being an IT journalist. Number one, as an IT journalist, your diversity is an impressive quality to employers. An IT pro that can be consulted with any type of project, no matter what the challenge, is highly appreciated in the workforce. According to employers are facing a challenge of filling a broad range of skills. So if you're the type of IT pro who can rewire a server room, fight cybercrime, and onboard a new hire, you provide a unique value than someone with a specialization. This is true, very true. Number two, you provide flexibility and dependability. Working with someone that is picky about the projects they want to be involved in can be tough. But as an IT journalist, you provide flexibility and dependability. Working with a jack of all trades is enjoyable, and when there is work that needs to be done quickly, being the go-to guy or gal is extremely respectable. The 2020 IT industry outlook highlights the following as some of the top skills IT managers are looking for. Teamwork. Your broad knowledge allows you to dive into a variety of projects at your organization and making you a great team player. Breadth of skill. IT managers note that having a wide range of abilities is valuable because it helps mitigate everyday work challenges. As an IT generalist, this is your bread and butter. Number three, you are valuable to companies with small IT departments. A small company may also come with a small budget, which could mean they don't have the ability to hire several IT pros that specialize in different fields. Being an IT generalist can make you more appealing to a smaller company where your varied skill set is invaluable. You can also continue to gain experience in many different facets of IT. Yeah, this is very true. Big fish in a small pond rather than a small fish in a big ocean. That becomes a challenge. So what you do is you do your internship at a bigger company, and then you leave that after a year or so, and then you're on your way to a smaller company with more firepower. It's kind of how it works. The benefit of being an IT specialist. Number one, being a specialist is priceless. Specializing in a certain topic these days is rare and therefore leads to a greater appreciation. An IT specialist has a huge advantage when it comes to problem solving because you know the ins and outs of your craft. As an expert, you can potentially predict upcoming challenges in the industry since you know it like the back of your hand. The 2020 IT industry outlook found that IT managers are looking for the following skills. Depth of skill in a particular field. Since you are a master in one specialty, you will be impressive to IT managers who are looking for an IT pro specialist. Problem solving. With your essential skills, you are a great resource at an organization when specific problems arise, and your ability to solve problems is very strong. Number two, specialization seems to be the trend. The 2020 IT industry outlook predicts that there will be a strong focus on training and certifications. The report says that 48% of the IT pros plan on building technical skills within their current area of specialization, and 45% of IT pros plan on building a technical skill in a new area. This is very true. With so many different topics in IT, there is plenty of room for growth. Whether you already specialize in something like cloud computing or you're looking to enter a new specialization like server administration, there is a great opportunity to specialize in a certain skill. Number three, you save the organization time and money. Experts tend to be extremely efficient due to their high level of knowledge, and efficiency helps save companies time and money. As an IT specialist, you won't need as much training and babysitting in your job role, which in turn makes you more productive. You ensure quality in your work, which takes stress off other people at an organization. If a hiring manager had to choose between IT generalist or an IT specialist for a specialized job, the specialist would have the upper hand because they wouldn't require as much training and their detailed knowledge is a no-brainer. As you can see, there are pros and cons to each option. IT pros have to think about which is right for them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent decision. After weighing all the options, do you see yourself as a jack of all trades or a master of one? How do you see yourself, Dion?
I'm definitely gonna be considered a generalist because I have too much interest in all this stuff. So not that I go crazy sporadically out, but every time something else comes up, I'm definitely trying to figure out at least a good amount to where I can have a conversation about it. And going from having a conversation about it and being able to read about it, I'm obviously gonna want to put it to practice too. So
Right. Yeah, I would say I'm a generalist. Maybe in the micro transport, I'm starting to maybe perhaps become a specialist. But I would say just overall, I'm more like you, Dion. I just kind of had like a working sort of interest in just kind of all things computer, not really like specialized. So it came like, Mike, we used to talk about back in the day, building systems. you know, so having the ability to build a system, configure it, you know, and then you might have to even set up like a router in the home where we got a printer involved. So that means now we're learning a little bit about networking. So it was kind of the same route for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
So
Sorry I
what
wasn't
do
What
you?
up?
able to speak
What up?
earlier.
What up?
For sure, for sure. Nah, I mean, I think everybody starts out as a generalist
Yeah.
in IT
Mhm.
until they find something that they really enjoy as far as working on. So, um, a lot of people that get in IT, they kind of start out in the generalist. They like all things IT, just like what you said, complex about building computers. I remember doing that, before I even had an interest in
Yep.
working in IT. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
over time,
Yeah.
you figure out what you want to specialize in once you start actually getting hands on it and fully understand the way the tech works and as well as IT, the way
Yeah.
it
I
works.
mean, dude, like for me, it was like how it kind of moved into that was um so when I started really getting deep into the music shit, like everything that we were running in all the studios that we had was all Mac, right? So, you know, learning how to like open up the terminal and, you know, turn off certain things so that we could run this card and do all this type of stuff. Like that's kind of where I learned it. I learned it because I had to get all these damn music applications and peripherals to work. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's kind of where you kind of get it conceptually. It might have just been through something that really didn't have anything to do with a quote unquote like IT interest. You know, for me, it started with music. So
Yeah, I think Josh is right. Keep It Techie is right that everybody starts off as a generalist. I was in tech before I even got into computers, so I was already messing with breadboards and circuit boards and stuff like that, soldering, battery jigs and stuff like that for RC cards, and you know,
well, I was just gonna ask you, Mike, would you kind of would you throw that in the realm in the same realm like RC car building and shit like that?
yeah, because it's very hobby centric, but it's actually intuitive. So you really got to understand, if you could work with your hands. That's how I got into like building computers, was working with my hands in terms of like RC cars, building tracks out of baseball diamonds and stuff like that, adding jumps and stuff out of leftover construction lumber from sites and stuff that left it behind. I stole a few myself. Uh, that sort of the ability to walk into an environment and say and look at pieces on the ground and things like that on the floor and
Make something.
make something out of it is exactly what drives that innovation. And I think generalists, like Hipoteki is saying, usually start off this way, and then they become specialists in something later that they find their passion in. So you got to find your passion in something. That's why whenever I do mentorship with people on Saturdays and stuff like that, I always ask, where do you see what do you like about IT, and where do you see yourself, and where do you come from? Oh, well, I used to work at uh, in the logistics or something like that. Well, you'll be a great database guy because you understand, you know, numbers and categories and things like that. You'd be a great data analyst guy or a great database guy. Make you look at SQL, um, things like that.
Hey, Mike, can I add to that real quick?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, good morning to everybody. It's
Hey,
still
what's up,
morning
Mike?
where I'm at.
Yep,
Um,
same.
Morning.
I just wanted to add, I guess, from the money side of things, the generalist kind of tops out at like an assurance job. Um, Whereas the specialist, if you top out your specialized um, role, such as like a program or something like that, um, the assurance manager or whatever is going to top out, maybe in the 80 to 100, depending on the 100K, depending on the job the company you work for. Whereas a specialist, somebody who's a programmer, somebody who's a network engineer, whatever, they're going to top out, they're going to be up in the 100K plus range. So that's something to think about too. Like, I'm actually learning that now because I jumped into IT at a late age. So in my sysadmin role, where do I go from here? I could go to an assurance job. I can't think of the term I'm thinking, but where I kind of help oversee, the roles of everybody that's on the support side.
Are you talking more from a QA analyst perspective?
Yeah, like a QA,
that's
person. They're not gonna make as much as somebody who's, like the engineers,
No.
people who are specialized.
Specialists make the big dollars, but
Right.
the generalists do okay. But the generalists do okay as well. And
Right.
how long you've been with the company, how you move up, and kind of who's hooking you up inside the company as well. You can kind of create some slightly different type of roles for yourself where you can actually make some fairly decent bread as well. So it's being a generalist. I think I don't know if Keep It Techie said it, but everyone kind of starts out as that. I think a lot of people do, and some people become very good at it, and there's money in it. Is money in that as well. So it's great to be a good generalist.
Yeah. Music Black, you have anything you want to add?
Not particularly. I'm still working on my with the whole generalist thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had an epiphany not too long ago that when it comes to vendors like CompTIA, I noticed that a lot of my colleagues and a lot of people who are more seasoned in the IT field, they're kind of critical of CompTIA's vendorship because it's just conceptual and theoretical. And I understand that a lot of people feel as though it's good for somebody with no experience or understanding. But if you really want to get experience and understanding, some would argue that you can just focus on a specific vendor like Cisco or Microsoft or something like that. And that's where the whole specialist and generalist comes into play. I'm actually dabbling with my packet tracer right now. And, you're talking about the automation. And I find it funny. I remember last time we spoke where I asked about the Cisco DevNet, and you're right, it's not trending and it probably won't. I think everything is always an experiment. So even with that, even though it's not like the DevNet cert is not trending like your AWS or Azure, if you want to stay in the Cisco realm, since everything is going automated, understanding Python and Linux for that particular system will definitely, it's kind of mandated.
Well, the thing is,
you did right. He's very right. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, CompTIA is vendor neutral, so there's only so far they can go because they don't own the technology, right? They don't own Cisco, Microsoft's products and stuff like that to incorporate it into it. Now, at one point, it was like that back in the early 2000s. You couldn't do that with CompTIA's A+ and Network Plus and stuff like that. It did have a lot of Cisco and Microsoft content in it, but then Cisco and Microsoft kind of cut them off, right? So it became very much a theoretical, not even so much a theoretical, but more industry standard of how you approach each and every single role, A+, Network Plus, Server Plus.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
But that's where people who are on the entry level, which is what we're talking about, where do you go, right? You got to figure out where you want to be and what you like about information technology to really get an understanding. And you don't really get that understanding until you get your feet wet in these areas. And,
I'm starting to see where I want to be. I'm at the DoD right now. Again, I'm working on a military installation. I still physically show up to work, and the people that we help. Can you guys hear me?
yes.
Yeah. The people that we help are they're actually teleworking from home. Most of these military personnel are teleworking from home, and you know. With the Windows migration to Windows 10 and everybody using Office 365 and VPN bandwidth that's being stretched thin, it's a good time to be in the position that I'm in.
Yeah.
So it goes without saying that I only have my Security Plus cert. Some of the guys who were coming in with the same entry level experience as me, they got 3 certifications. Like one of the guys I work with, he's Security Plus, certified ethical hacker, I want to say something else, but I know, but he's at the entry level, and the only reason people take the position that I'm at for the pay is because they sponsor your top secret. But this is just my opinion. I personally feel as though you can get to the same level of pay that you want to get to without the top secret, or because relying on the top secret, yes, you got your top secret. There are opportunities, but your opportunities are limited to the DoD. And a lot of people in the DoD, especially if you go from like contractor to civilian, the idea is job security. And my rationale, because when I contracted overseas, I got into books like Rich Dad Poor Dad. My rationale is to work and build up a passive source of income to the point where I'm not necessarily reliant on a job or dependent on paycheck to paycheck. That's one of my ultimate goals. And I think a lot of people's goals when they get into the IT field or any other field that, can get you into a better pay bracket, or at least from the get-go kind of like specify that you will be making a lot of money. They go there simply for the job security. My thing is, you have a minimalist lifestyle, minimalist mindset, you understand assets and liabilities, that money should be going to the point where you can technically be wealthy without relying on a job.
Well, and Mugen, let me allow me to.
Mugen, I'm looking at it. How old are you?
30. I'm 32.
Young cat. Okay. Keep you safe. Keep you safe. High overhead low. That's what I'm
Yeah. That's been the mantra. New Going 11 has been pushing since day one. So it's good to hear that you kind of have it embedded. I think though, Mugen, what you want to do with regards to what you're talking about is then you have to create a roadmap for that. Because my question would be to you is, when you say the passive income that you build, right, that then puts you kind of like in a different class in terms of like what you're going to be doing out here in the world. So I assume that this passivity is going to come through what? Some sort of business mechanism, that's related to IT? What's the roadmap?
Well, I'm still learning about different investments and passive sources of income. I know from personal experience and understanding that, and with things going the way they're going, like with the recession and whatnot, now is a good time for me. Let's say if this thing boils over tomorrow, I can take a position overseas where it's tax-free and I get more money and I can save up more. I come home and I buy, properties and just hold on to those and use those as collateral versus, taking out loans and whatnot.
Well, I was curious. Yeah, I was just curious to know if you're. Go ahead.
As far as passive income, and you want to get some decent passive income, which you put a little bit of work into, but you can consistently make some money on, have some cash flow coming through. It's definitely owning real estate. Definitely owning real estate, owning some properties, and getting income from tenants and so forth. That's a key thing. Another thing would be, if you're owning stocks, and let's say
blue
you're getting
chips,
some preferred stock, corporate stock, where you're getting some level of a dividend. Okay, and you're getting a dividend payment that comes out every quarter and so forth, and you're getting some money back on what your investment is. Those kind of stocks are not going to give you massive appreciation, but you're going to have, how would I say, preservation of income at some level of income. So you're on kind of a fixed income kind of deal. If you kind of want to look at that, I would say right now, quite frankly, from a passive income standpoint, you want to make some money. If you've got a few dollars, you could start to invest. And I'm not talking about a lot of money, 9, 10 grand, 15, something like that. If you can start to invest in some stocks that right now that are low, that are going to make some incredibly strong moves. And what I mean by strong moves is they have to have good fundamentals, good PE ratios, and so forth. Not a lot of debt. Having had good earnings and getting that the market is going to give you a certain degree of income. Now, pulling money out and then selling stock and doing anything else like that is another question.
Yeah, and I've done a little bit of that. My question, I do have a question in terms, since we're talking about investments now.
Well, that's really off topic. That's really off topic.
Yeah, that's off topic.
Okay. So, back on topic about the
that's why I was kind of asking if what you were talking about was kind of like leveraging when you said that, if you were talking about doing it in the sense of leveraging your IT career in order to obtain or achieve that, because that's usually the goal with a lot of IT professionals. At some point, it's to get into the startup realm, right? Where now, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I was relating it more to IT, because yeah, if you're talking about that, it's leveraging the positions that you have had and then getting into the realm where now you're creating startups.
Yeah. Get into the startup, and there's gonna be a lot more startups coming up over the next 10 years.
Would you say that the IT recruiting companies will fall into the startup realm? Because even now, there's still
I would definitely say that, and they're good business to get into. Things are a little bit down right now, but long term, it's a good business. You'll definitely make money in IT recruiting. That is for sure. And somebody like yourself,
it's funny things are down, but my job just hard. It's funny you say things are down, but like the company or the place that I'm at, the help desk place that I'm at, they still hire people. We still got people like straight up coming in.
Yeah. I mean, the recruiting companies, overall recruiting right now, just about what's happening for the short term, it's a little bit down. That's okay though, because as this thing cycles through, they're going to be ramping back up again. There's going to be ramp up, so it's a good business certainly to get into. And then somebody like yourself, who's got a very strong technical background and so forth, you can get involved in certain levels of project management or managing projects for companies where you can put together IT teams, and then
I'm not really that strong.
Companies.
I'm not really that strong, believe it. I'm still learning.
Well, you get stronger, but in the IT business, IT recruiting and so forth is definitely a business that is certainly looking up. It's not the easiest business in the world, not the easiest business in the world. A lot of competition, and you got to know a lot about sales and dealing with clients and really pulling a lot of stuff off. There's a lot of work involved in that, but it's a profitable business once you get up money. It takes you a little bit, but very profitable business, I would say. And let me say this about DoD clearance. That's great with the Department of Defense. In the corporate environment, the corporate world, it's not that big of a deal. Right, I know some people think it is. It just isn't. So that doesn't leverage all that crazily. You might work for a bank or something else like that. That might kind of like that. But if you're dealing with a company that's got some governmental kind of connections, and they have certain governmental kind of adherence, that may play a bigger role. But that's not necessarily going to give you a huge advantage in the private sector.
I know.
Hey, Mugen. Let me say this right fast, bro, and then y'all can keep going, bro. I just want to say, I'm just a couple years older than you. Mugen, I'm just 36. Just keep that same mindset. That's all I want to say to you, bro. You talking some good stuff, bro. Just keep that same mindset. Don't let nothing stray you from keeping that mindset that you have as far as striving to be successful. So that's all I want to say.
No.
Go ahead.
He dead on it. I mean, that's why we don't need to we dead on it. We're not sitting here talking about, what chick you want, what kind of woman you want, and all that ham shit. Because
I could have gone to other places of Black YouTube and done that. I'm actually trying to stay away from those environments.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You're definitely right about that, because there's nothing to worry about. You just stay on the business piece and then keep improving your ultimate bottom line, maybe these some things are. I can be very unrealistic and grandiose about my own personal expectations in life, but I think at the same time, one of my ultimate goals in the next 3 years, since I got in the next 3 years, I think I can do it. I think I'm gonna try and shoot for my CCIE by the time I'm 35. CCIE, whoo.
One of those. Here's the whole point, bro.
You get that? You are Godzilla.
That's the whole point, bro. Is your shit is supposed to be grandiose, dude.
Hell yeah,
bro. That's the whole point, man. We're trying to get brothers to really think like that, because think about if you think that what you're thinking is grandiose, let's just say in terms of what you hope to achieve in terms of passive income and shit. And let's just say you had a number in your head, at 42, I literally want, $3 million, per year in passive income rolling through. Okay. Now, when you really think about that at your age, you're giving yourself 10 years to be making $3 million passively a year. Do you think that that's achievable?
I mean,
think about it. It's $3 million.
I mean,
how many people?
is it? I mean, it definitely is not. It's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Right.
You know,
right.
there's a saying. A friend of mine used this. A mentor of mine in martial arts used to say that luck is just a simple addition of timing and opportunity. So definitely not impossible, but it depends on the timing and opportunity. Like for me, I'd say my best bet within the midst of me studying is possibly to go back overseas and at least do another contract and, you know, save up my money and then save up my money, especially with things going on now.
No, my whole point in talking about grandiose thoughts and grandiose ideas is that, like, if you set a goal for 3 million by that age, but let's just say it ended up being 1, right? Would you consider it a success?
Yeah. I mean, I got somewhere.
That's what I mean. So what I'm saying is the thought in your head of wanting 3, but you got 1, but fuck, like that's 1. Who's got that? Not a lot of people. So I'm saying, dude, like when you think grandiose, no, it's because you have high expectations for yourself. So you have to really kind of look at it in scale. And I don't want to draw away too much from this because I know Mike wants to. I don't frown upon grandiose thoughts and ideas, dude. I don't do that at all. I don't frown upon that shit.
Yeah. I need to get to the next article.
One question before that. So let's say I get my CCNA within the next month or 2. How long should I immediately go into like my CCNP? Just the same way some people go into CompTIA. Should I just jump into it the same way, or should I just?
Well, it depends. How much experience do you have?
That's it.
That's going to determine whether or not you can get it. If you have a CCNP but you have no network background, very suspect to a lot of.
Exactly. I'd say you go into an environment, become skilled in there, really get a lot of knowledge, because that's also going to help you with your CCNP. You get that, then as soon as you get that, then you stay in there for a year or 2, 3 years or so. 36 months, I would say, really getting around in environments and really getting your hands on a lot of stuff. And then, and have some good mentors that you can work with on your job who can get you exposed to a lot of things. The job gets you a lot of exposure. And then you can take a look at that CCIE later on, because the CCIE is serious business, and guys who get it, it's really hard, but it's hard, but it's definitely doable. But I don't see anybody getting their CCIEs. I haven't seen anyone.
I think there's only 5 black men in the world who actually have CIE.
One of them is on YouTube, actually.
And let's just put it like this: they all at least are 10-year players and above. They've been in the game at least 10 years, at least doing one, at least 10 years.
Yeah, CCIE guys are basically Navy SEALs or special ops.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
one of the other panels. One of the other panels you were talking about is like for some of these jobs, with the Cisco certifications, the people with those certain level of certs, they literally drop down into a place and fix a server or something like that on some Navy SEAL special ops. That's the CCIE. That's the CCIE, right? Or that's CCNP.
CCIE are usually directors. They usually hire people. So they look at
the whole overall network.
Yeah, they're usually in charge of the architecture itself. But when I was referring to the CCNP, CCIE type of guys, there's guys who are just on standby for certain companies that are like vendors, service providers. They're sitting at home probably playing Xbox or something like that, and they get a ticket in their inbox and tells them to go drop in at a certain location. I won't say where I was working before, but Microsoft has also the same thing. Those contracts are worth $500 million.
Yeah, they are.
God damn.
And them dudes are paid, and they can sit on the beach for a while, because while they were working for a certain period, let's say maybe for a year, they're making 50, 60, 70 grand a month.
And that's that's where I want to be at. Honestly, that's where I want to be at.
Yeah, those guys are very experienced. The one guy I was working with, he graduated from Berklee College of Music with a degree in music, but he was very efficient at Windows. He was just amazing. That's something I've never seen before. And not just like working Windows, but actually developing in .NET and stuff like that. He was a ninja. He basically get a ticket, drop in, and look at the environment in less than 30 minutes. He was on it. So those are the type of people that that bring in that sort of pay. But go ahead.
Yeah, no. But you're definitely thinking right. The CCIE, to shoot for that is definitely a goal to shoot for. It's a great one. It's a great goal to shoot for, and it's certainly achievable. You may not have that many black men who have CCIEs. In fact, if you look at whites and others, as far as population in the IT industry, it's a very, very small one. Very few guys are walking around with that. That's Godzilla the game. But if you get that, you'll be one of the strongest IT professionals, especially on the networking side, in the country. So that's where that sets you. And it's great to shoot. It's great to shoot at that. And there's nothing but cash in that. And then, quite frankly, you can travel anywhere in the world with that certification, anywhere. And you really want to talk about leveraging your money. Let's talk about a place like Brazil, where its price is 522 or 530 damn near to 1. So if you're making $100,000, let's just say you were doing a project that gave you 100,000 in American dollars. That's $500,000 down there. You know what I mean? Or 500,000 or so forth. And you're walking around like a king, and if you're 200,000 or $300,000, it's that much more. So, you can leverage your money in other places in a huge way. If you want to travel internationally as well. So, it just gives you that much more leverage and that much more opportunity really around the world to really make pretty sick bread. So, it's a great thing to have. I'll say that.
Go ahead, Josh.
It's serious business.
No.
All right, Josh.
What's up? Nah, I was just gonna say, I'm chilling, man, chilling. Now, I was just gonna add to what y'all saying. I met 2 guys overseas making a killing. They had all those Cisco certifications. One of the guys, he actually left the U.S. and he's living in the Philippines or whatever. And these guys have been working overseas in different areas. Where I met them was Afghanistan, but they've been working overseas in different areas, all Cisco stuff, all networking, and for 10 plus years, making bank. So once you get those certs, man, and since you got a clearance and all that stuff, you can get in to some of these big companies and they'll pay you a hell of a lot of money to manage these Cisco equipment. So that those CCIE, all those Cisco certifications, once you get them, you know what I'm saying, they go like what these guys are saying. So I just wanted to give an example though. And these are 2 black guys. One of them is from New Orleans. The other one I think was from Michigan or whatever. And yeah, they making bank. So that's all I wanted to say. Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, no, you did right, because all of these systems are very similar, and wherever you go to France, you go to England, Germany, you go, South America to Brazil or Argentina, or you're in Spain or in Italy, or you go anywhere, in Asia. It's all that stuff is pretty much the same. So, the dollars are different. So you're going to be able to really leverage and arbitrage your dollar in some ill ways. If you think about ill, I mean ill. Really, you could really come off. So, if you're thinking like that. So, anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say if you really are interested in the network aspect, because of the 5G rollout, they don't have enough wireless technicians to actually go out there and drop all of these 5G access points throughout these cities. That's why the U.S. is behind. One of the reasons why the U.S. is behind, outside of bureaucratic red tape, they just don't have enough technicians. Verizon had a hard time laying down files not just because of the infrastructure, because they didn't have enough technicians. So they have to outsource that stuff. So there's a mass rollout right now for for 5G technology that, it's a big opportunity right now to get your feet wet and actually get involved in that sort of stuff. Zero in the chat actually lays out infrastructure. He used to lay out infrastructure at hotels. So he can, he can speak to that type of stuff. He's an infrastructure guy himself. So let me answer this one question. I need to move on to the next article. Dave Towle says, I Mike V, does a CompTIA A+ help you get a help desk technician entry-level job or not? Yes, it does. Yes. That's the short answer. Let me move on to this article real quick. That's the last one.
Hey, Mike, there's one more question here that he asked, and I just want to cover this very quickly. Take a second. I think Dave Chow, he asked the same thing. So what are the best combinations of certifications to have to get you to 70K? And you don't need a whole combination to get you to 70K on that. You could get certified in any number of certifications and get there with the proper work experience to get you to 70K. If you get the CCMP and you're working with a good company and you put the time in, you're going to be at 70K in a relative short period of time. When I say short period, not 6 months, whatever, but 24 months, 36 months or so, 2 to 3 years, you're in that area easily. And moving up. Certainly, if you get certifications, let's say in Linux and Python and so forth, and let's say you become a programmer, or you get into systems administration, you've been working in one of those areas for a good 36 months, 3 years or so, you're easily going to be there. 3 to 4 years, easily. So there's not one specific combination that's going to get you there. Any one of them can get you there. A lot of it is just getting into the right company, experience, being good at what you do, and kind of making it that way. Because you can put in all types of different certifications, and if you don't have the experience, you're still not going to get your certs, but you don't make the money because you don't have the experience. You're just not going to get there. So hopefully that I'm not trying to skirt the question at all. I think that kind of answers it. I don't know if anybody else has anything they could put to that. I'd appreciate that as well.
Yeah, I need to get to the next article. This is from the enterpriseproject.com. 5 flourishing and 5 fading IT careers. Which IT careers are on the rise and which ones are disappearing? IT job hunters and hiring managers need to understand the trends. Once the technology has proved its value, the demand for people who know how to get the most out of it never quite goes to zero. Just look at COBOL programming, currently experiencing a surge in demand due to states still using it for mainframe-based unemployment systems that now need to be retooled in response to the COVID pandemic. Long-term, you want to align yourself with business and technology trends that are on the upswing. Trends can speed up, slow down, or reverse themselves. So you also want to identify the ones that look to be sustainable. Here's what we're hearing from the recruiters and career coaches we consulted. As you look through this list, keep in mind that we're trying to see beyond job titles that don't always describe what people actually do. The titles don't mean much anymore, says Mark Boulder, of warehouse executive search and recruitment in Milwaukee. In order to have a productive conversation with a hiring manager, he finds he needs to do some detective work to find out what they really want and need. 5 fading IT careers. Let's tackle the bad news first. Fading system, database, and network administrators. If your career is defined by your skill at administrating local service databases and networks, you may want to redefine it, recruiters say. Even when those computing assets are not moving to the cloud, they are increasingly being managed remotely. The providers of remote administration services need people to perform those tasks, but are also investing heavily in automation. Bottom line, there will be fewer of those admin jobs to go around. One obvious answer is to come up to speed on how systems, databases, and networks are managed in the cloud and prove that you can help your organization manage them better. A lot of times, if an organization is looking for experience with a particular cloud provider, they won't even talk to someone who doesn't have that, says Melissa Smith, a technology recruiter based in Des Moines. The counterpoint to sysadmin role pessimists, when we wrote a similar story on 4 dying IT jobs in 2018, sysadmin was also identified, yet here we are. Ken Hess, community manager for our sister site, Enable Sysadmin, has 20 plus years of sysadmin experience himself, and he knows this role has outlived naysayers for years. It is true that many services are moving to the cloud, but to say the sysadmin jobs will disappear because of this trend isn't true, he says. You still need system administrators to perform tasks such as regular hardware and software maintenance, updates, and upgrades. There's no amount of cloud automation that can replace the hands and minds of system administrators.
Absolutely correct.
For example, DigitalOcean's Droplets virtual machines still require a sysadmin to install software, grab updates, create users, and generally maintain the system. And those droplets are 100% cloud-based and remote, he has says. Fading, project managers. The need for project managers to be managed hasn't gone away, but the Agile and DevOps movement have, in many cases, turned project management into a team activity rather than a distinct discipline run by someone who has the title of a project manager and works for a project management office. Over the last 3 years or so, if I look at the number of requisitions for project managers, seemingly the need for project managers is going down, Boulder says. Caveat, if you look at DICE, if you look at the DICE salary survey, project manager still shows up as one of the top IT occupations, rating an average salary of $116,012. However, Boulder notes the smart ones are rebranding themselves as being more than project managers who take a list of requirements and execute a project on that basis. That position has morphed into business owner, product owner, he says, meaning someone who both defines the business need and manages the IT project that will achieve the desired results. What existed in the past, a division of labor between business analysts and project managers, the project managers often more highly valued, never made sense to Boulder in the first place. Fading, quality assurance engineers. As with project management, the traditional quality assurance processes for software testing are fading as Agile and DevOps advance in integrated cycle of testing and coding. User testing of software is more likely to be democratized with everyone on the team testing it out, Smith says. Boulder agrees if a company is doing pretty good on or running an agile process, there isn't much of a need for an army of QA people. Some organizations will continue to employ QA teams, but again, there may not be enough of these jobs to go around. One possible exit plan, pursue a career in robotic process automation, RPA. Fading, back end and front end engineers. Having a singular focus on just the back end or just the front end of applications is not the best way to stay employed. Hiring managers are looking for full stack engineers, Smith says.
So true. So true.
Some value programmers may still be stronger on the back end or the front end and maybe value for that expertise, but they should understand the entire chain of software needed to create compelling applications.
Damn right. Damn right.
Employees want to see the full stack set of skills. She sees the greatest demand for developers prepared to work with the open source MERN stack, MongoDB, Express, React, and Node, which has recently displaced the mean stack in which Angular held the place of honor for user interface coding, now occupied by React, Smith says. The thing all these technologies have in common is they all use JavaScript, making it possible to write the user interface, the middleware, and the database logic in the same language. Boulder says that Boda says many of the IT people facing fading demand for their skills have the knowledge and math skills needed to turn themselves into JavaScript programmers if they desire to do so. React, a framework originally developed at Facebook for producing optimized JavaScript code, does seem to be in a different language, in a different league in terms of sophistication and learning curve compared to more basic JavaScript, he says. In general, developers should be wary of getting back into any commodity skill set and deepening their understanding of the business context of their work, Boda says. You need to be more than just the stereotype of the developer in the back room doing heads down coding, he advises. There's a little room for some of those people yet. There's little room for some of those people yet, but not for very long. Fading, the small company CIO. For years, large organizations have courted CIOs who understand this power of technology, but are business people first and foremost, not necessarily techies. However, Smith says the small to mid-sized companies and startups she works with want something different. I just got a call from someone who has been a CIO his entire career. Now he's getting interviews, but he's getting told that because he doesn't come from a software engineering background, he's not technical enough. They need someone who can code. Boda sees a similar pattern. Small to mid-sized companies may give someone the CIO title, but what they really want is something closer to a CTO or a software engineering leader. Someone who understands the business, but who also has deep technical knowledge and isn't afraid to get their hands dirty. Perhaps, grabbing the CIO title in a small organization may not even be worth that much later in the job market, Boda says. The first thing they are going to ask is how many people you had reporting to you, he says. Unless the answer is impressively large number, no one is going to take you seriously as a true corporate CIO.
Man, this article is great. This is a great article. Where did you get this article from, bro?
It was in my feed. It was my feed earlier this week.
This shit is great. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is something. So the only part I disagree with is the sysadmin, the database admin, and network admin. Those guys are going to be those people, I should say, are going to be SREs, so site reliability engineers. That will be their place in the DevOps. And the DevOps operations. So in that case, them fading, I don't know. I don't think that's true. But from a DevOps,
I definitely don't think.
Yeah, they'll have their place for a couple more years. But they're right though; it is shrinking.
Yeah.
The market is shrinking drastically. And
It is. This article is great. Anyway, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So project managers, your days were numbered anyways. Being PMP certified and stuff like that. That was cool back, before the market in 2008. But now, like the article says, with DevOps, Agile, that's the way the market is moving. No need for a single contact. It's all group based. Quality assurance engineers, that was bound to happen. DevOps is going to swallow those type of people in the development or the ops side. That was bound to happen. So I would not try to pursue a QA role at this point unless you're a senior person. Yeah, back end and front end engineers. We talked about this before. You got to be full stack. We talked about this many times before. Full stack engineers is where the business is. You got to know everything from front, back, and middle.
Especially if you're black as well. I'm sorry to put it down there too, but especially if you're a brother out here, you got to be full stack.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, hey, this is something I was thinking about earlier when you was doing that article on the IT generalist versus specialist. You're gonna need those generalized skills, especially when it comes to full stack development. You got to understand every aspect of how the application is going to work, as far as the database back end, as for the coding in the front end. So you're just gonna have to, that generalist mindset is still going to be there. So that's what I wanted to add. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Very accurate. Very accurate.
Yeah. Most of your blockchain architects and developers. Those are full stack guys. Those are full stack people, I should say. Full stack people, man, they cover the whole gamut. So they're not just isolated to just the back or the front or the middle, man. They're covering the whole entire thing. So MongoDB, Express, React, and Node, yeah, that's very important right now. Very important. You don't know any of that type of stuff from a developer standpoint, you're screwed. And the CIO piece, I mean, we've talked about this many times before. The Equifax CIO or CISO and the Target CIO and CISO. These people were useless when the ish hit the fan. They were very useless. They had no idea what they were doing.
That's exactly right. That's why I said this young kid who I got hooked up some years ago. He's out there now working for a company, Imagine Software. Find out where he is, but he's a CTO for them, and he's making some pretty big bread. But he's a CTO, very hands-on guy. Knows everything about programming. Knows a lot. Knows everything about systems administration, networking, and the whole game. This guy is super sharp. But that's what they're looking for. Yeah, these CIO, these political guys running around, and I don't have a lot of technical skills, or have some, they just have some of the jargon down, if you will. But can't program or do any systems administration or anything. Really don't bring a lot to the table. They're done. They get finished off pretty quickly. So that's why I think this article is so right on the money, because they're calling out the real deal here.
Yeah,
they're calling out the real deal. They're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking for the CTO, like they're saying here, and some people didn't really skill up. That upskill development was never there for them. That's why Equifax and Target, when they were breached, these people had no idea what they were talking about or what they were doing. Just babysitting the environment until something did happen, and then when something did happen, they weren't very functional at all. They were very flaccid.
The political technology guys, walking around, kind of, almost business analysts to a certain degree, but no technical, not very strong technically, useless when the ash hits the fan. Yeah, absolutely correct. I think this article's right on the money. I have to say, it's really good. Mike, send this one over. Just send this over to me when you're done. Anyway.
All right. All right, Flourishing, the product manager or product owner. The dream of a digital transformation is to create digitally enhanced products and digitally enabled revenue streams. That requires a product orientation rather than a project orientation. Depending on the organization, a CTO may be the ultimate product owner in an organization, someone who is able to create strategy, bring in the talent to execute on it, and stay focused on the product mindset, Smith says. Below that level, product managers attend to the details of agile, Scrum, software development, and issue tracking to get the work done. Product managers also do a lot of their work was previously assigned to business analysts, making sure to ask the right questions and solve the right problems. So whatever software is produced meets the business requirements, Broder says. This is very true.
Very good.
Yeah, I was offered several roles the last year and a half or so as a security product manager, which is something I didn't take on. I didn't know anything about pacemakers. It was a company that creates pacemakers, and they were looking for a security product manager because the pacemaker actually had a Wi-Fi chip in it. It was chip enabled. So it was going to report back all of this information in real time through the wireless connectivity. It was an IoT. Basically, it was a pacemaker that was an IoT. And I had no idea anything about pacemakers, but they were looking for somebody in that area. And that was the only thing that kept me from getting the role. So they actually came back around twice. And, I gave them the same answer. I don't know anything about pacemakers. So, but that's the thing.
You would have learned it in 2 seconds. It's like any other device. You would have learned it. You said, man,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Mike, man. You should. I'd have jumped to that one. I'm sorry, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who can own the project in a way that can drive value. So that's what product managers actually do. Project managers didn't really do that. They actually just kind of babysat the project for that was cool pre-2008, not anymore though. Let me go to the next one. Flourishing cybersecurity professionals. This one seems almost too obvious. Demand for cybersecurity talent has been growing for years, even more so that securing remote work arrangements is a priority for every company. Given these uncertain times and with all the remote work taking place, information security talent at all levels will continue to be high demand for the foreseeable future, says Kelly Doyle, Managing Director, Heller Search Associates, an executive search firm that specializes in CIOs and IT leaders. At the top level, a chief information security officer needs to understand the business context, not just the technical details of security, Boulder says. They need to be dedicated to securing the business without paralyzing the business. They must understand the stakes and translate that understanding into leadership. Security isn't just about security, Boulder says. Those with executive responsibility for security from the CEO down are well aware of the likelihood that mishandling security issues could lose them their jobs. Yes, it's very true. A lot of people think that cybersecurity, you're out there fighting bad guys and you know, China this and Russia that. No, a lot of times I spend about 4 hours a day in a meeting, man. I'm sitting in a meeting about a meeting. We're gonna discuss about what we're gonna do in the next meeting. So a lot of the times I'm not actually chasing bad security incidents and stuff like that. A lot of stuff has been automated. I automated a lot of that stuff. So yeah, so it's true. Yeah, cybersecurity professionals going to be needed, especially now with COVID crisis. But there's still a lot of business logic and process that needs to be driven, and that has nothing to do with security itself. It has to do with making sure that from end to end, we keep the lights on. We're not out in the dark, getting breached like some of these other companies being the next example in somebody's textbook. All right, Flourishing analytics professionals. In addition to protecting the data, employers want to put it to work. Data and analytics roles have been on the rise for years, and each year we are asked to fill more of these positions for client organizations. Doyle says the demand is likely to continue to expand because executive committees now see that by bringing disparate information from all areas of the operation together, they can make critical decisions with greater confidence. Smith agrees. Everyone and their mom wants an analytics person. The analytics skills in demand range from basic, like the ability to work with Excel pivot tables and create reports and write SQL queries, to Python and R for the heavy hitter data analyst, she says. Even if you're not applying for an analytics role, stress these skills if you have them and develop them if you don't. Yeah, very true. Very true.
Very true.
Yeah, data analysts, database engineers, and data scientists. I mean, we talked about this many times before. I think there was a person, I'm mad that I forget his name now, who got his Tableau certification, I think in January or something like that, and ended up getting a role over at Microsoft. We got engineering candidates on the panel.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Nothing much, brother.
What's going on, big man?
Good. I've been enjoying the articles and everything you've been talking about, and I agree with everything because most roles right now in cybersecurity, big data, the roles are not going to basically be removed. They're just going to evolve.
Yeah.
Evolve into, again, you can big data. Your cybersecurity role is going to evolve into something bigger. Your data science role, everything basically will evolve rather than being eliminated. So those cybersecurity data, big data roles, those are what's going to basically, especially with IoT and everything coming out, big data is going to drive that, and securing those big data is going to be important. So these are the roles that's going to be driving what's going on in terms of tech and all.
Yeah. Let me get this next one. Flourishing data scientists and data engineers. The more ambitious applications of big data and Internet of Things require an appreciation of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning techniques. This includes some skills that remain rare. For example, Smith says data engineers with knowledge of machine vision can command a salary that is $50,000 higher than those who do not. The data scientist title reflects the need for theoretical knowledge often imported from academia, while data engineers are skilled in the practical implementation of this sort of software. As much as possible, companies want to find people who can address both sides of that equation, Boda says. They really need a person who understands the theory as well as the practice. While data science truly is science, he adds, companies want someone who can not only run interesting experiments, but translate the science into business growth. Engineering cannabis, you have anything you want to add to that?
That's true. So again, utilizing IoT and again data science, how can you utilize it in a practical approach? Again, I go to what I'm doing. I use it for physical security, or again, using it for different application. The goal is to carry that theoretical knowledge and basically come up with an idea or an application that works. Again, AI data science is not only for efficiency, but also predictive analysis. So your goal is you create an algorithm, but your goal is to make sure that algorithm is basically practical and it works in real time. Creating an algorithm that doesn't work is just useless. Create an algorithm that works and basically shows that it predicts accurately. That's the key. Making sure you making sure you understand the whole process and automating the different parts of that process with AI. That's key. Knowing how to integrate IoT, blockchain, machine learning, especially deep learning, especially in identifying, again, facial recognition, knowing all these aspects and knowing how to apply it in real time, that's where the key comes in. So again, knowing how all these because I that's the fun part of it, knowing how to combine all these technologies together and knowing that it can work simultaneously. That is the best part of basically utilizing machine learning, deep learning, IoT. So again, you can learn it, but you have to know how it applies.
All right. Next one is the linchpin. You will not see many, if any, IT job postings that have linchpin as the title, but Boda says that's really what companies want when they are hiring a technology leader. They want someone who can manage products, processes, and technologies, then pull it all together to produce business results. Linchpins may or may not be technologists, although many times they are, he says. These are people who can see strategy, see it almost like it's a concrete thing. And they can also develop the processes and the tactics, and they can execute them. They may come from tech, but they also have to know manufacturing or whatever product or service the company provides.
Yeah, now you're talking my language.
That's what I'm talking about, understanding the process, understanding how everything works. This is the example of you have to understand the business practices, how each business works in the process, then automating it and doing all this stuff.
That would be Mike, that would be conceptualizing and business modeling, right?
Yeah, let me finish this. They may also come from tech, but they also know the manufacturing or whatever product or service the company provides. They also need to be knowledgeable to some extent about the marketing, sales, product development, and project management. Companies are looking for people who can cut through the fat and maybe and be more streamlined with processes. Smith explains they should be up to date on understanding the latest tools, even if not very technical themselves, so that they can fully automate their company. Because every company is a tech company right now. That's kind of the transition we've seen. These people,
that's right.
These people exist, but they aren't easy to find or open up a conversation with. Yeah, they're renegades. They aren't as interested in being an executive as they are in doing interesting work. Often he adds, they are more than a little arrogant, convinced they can do what others might consider impossible.
I'll say this.
I mean,
Let me-
this article is really right on the money. I
Yeah,
mean,
let me-
these guys are killing it right here. They're calling it out. I'm sorry, Mike. I
Yeah,
apologize.
if this is who
Sorry.
if this is who you want to be, nurture your own technological curiosity and understand the company probably won't pay you to be trained in all the things you're going to need to learn, Boda says. Then define yourself as the technology leader you want to be. Because if you don't define yourself, others will do it for you.
Oh, shh. Let me mute.
The linchpin. Let me ask from the lynch mob, Nagone 11.
The linchpin. Yeah, that's very critical. Very critical
Where's the
position.
listen to music?
You might see some people. You might see some people who are in some companies who might even be managing directors, and they really kind of play that role. Very, very important. I mean, I think this article right here is, whew, man, they're killing it. I mean, this is really good. I don't know who wrote it, but they certainly understand this game exceedingly well.
Mhm.
And I would say, as far as a linchpin is concerned, that's bottom line. And they are, yes, and they are. Are they hard to find? Yeah, they are. Mike, you mentioned, I think you said renegades.
Yeah, they're renegades.
I think you said renegades. I think you
nomads.
did. Yeah. Renegades. I think that's exactly what they are, and they know it. And a lot of them, don't adhere to certain kinds of. When I say these protocols, they're knowledgeable about a lot of things, so they're constantly putting things together. They know it. They tend to think that they're smarter than a lot of these other guys are because they are, and some of them at times, let's be frank about it. I mean, I'm sure some of the technology guys will admit that some of them can be a little difficult to work with. So, but yet they do have a great, they do have very strong vision. So, would I say that the linchpin is critical? It's a critical role. This article is really dead on it. I'd like to hear what engineering cannabis and some of the other guys have to say on that as well. Because I'm sure you've run into these guys on a consistent basis.
Yeah, the thing about this proverbial linchpin guy, man, these are sort of blockchain architects, engineers that companies are looking for now that they can't find, which is why the salaries command big payouts.
100,000,
500,000. There used to be when I used to work for a certain company when I was in different areas of cybersecurity, and there was his brother, or not his brother, but he was local to where we live. But he worked in the office, but he was a very, very much a linchpin type of person. And one day we were bored, man. This was like during like Christmas break or something. And pulled out the whiteboard because the mega millions or something like that. I forget what it hit. I think it hit like 1.4, 1.6 million dollars or something like that. I forget what it was. And he looked at it and said, "Let me figure the numbers out." And he put out a whiteboard and he did all the algorithms of the lottery. And sure enough, the number that he predicted would come out actually came out the next day. And we all looked at him in the office, and he was just like beside himself. I said, "How did you figure all this out, man?" That's just how they think, man. That's just how they move.
Yeah.
If they walk in there, they see things and they just do shit, man. I don't know. I don't get those guys, man. They're 1 in a million, though. Go ahead, anybody else wants to jump in.
And they step on toes on other guys who are, let's say, dumber but yet think they're smarter, and that they want to just shove them. That's kind of why they're renegades, because they're not good politicians at times. They're looking to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not as politically savvy as what I would like to call it at times, that maybe some others are, but you see that they're very effective and they know what they're doing, and you got to give them a wide berth. And you do that, these guys are going to pull a lot of stuff together. But like I said, they are arrogant. They are arrogant. Engineering cannabis, man. What's up, man? What's going on with that?
Hey, what's up? In terms of these guys, the linchpin guys, usually, for instance, in the data science role I usually have, these guys usually come from the engineering background. They learn specifically chemical engineering, process engineering.
Mm-hmm.
They learn how to do a process, learn how to understand how a process works intimately. Then they learn how to automate the system. So yeah, these guys are arrogant, but they know their stuff. They came from the
Yes.
same background I came from, chemical engineering, process engineering, learn how a process works, then learn data science and basically become indispensable. And they are arrogant, believe me, they are. But they because they understand how a process works, they're able to learn techniques and software, data science quickly. They're able to learn blockchain or anything quickly because they know again how processes works, how everything fits together. They don't work on just a large aspect. They work on a small scale, how each individual aspects work to make a bigger process work. So they understand every critical small aspects, every small gear, every small aspect to know how that small gear or the small processes builds into the bigger aspect. And they know how to automate those things, and they know use data science and all that. So yes, they are arrogant, but they sometimes they do deserve some of the arrogance because they understand how process works, they understand how to implement things quickly, they understand how a business works, how to efficiently streamline your business. So it's it's arrogant, but hey, they do know
They're
what they know
arrogant
what they do.
because, yeah, they're arrogant because the company needs them.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
the company does need them, and they're good three-dimensional thinkers. And the company definitely needs them. They definitely do.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, they definitely.
I've like my I guess you could say my professional mentor in this discussion or as it relates to this discussion would be Steve Jobs, right? So everybody knew him to be arrogant, right? Dictatorish, very keen on details, very keen on the public perception of his product and the brand. And there was just something that, me coming up in business, I always wanted to kind of emulate a lot of his type of philosophies and aesthetics. So perfect example, like if you guys have ever even seen like my own little complex design logo, right? It's very minimalist, very simple, right? But you kind of have to like look at it. Even logos that I've had for like past companies, they've always been very minimalist, but have an air of sophistication to them. And people couple sophistication with arrogance oftentimes. So one's man's sophistication is another man's arrogance, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways. Wait, did somebody want to?
No, I was just going to say that there was a time on YouTube in the manosphere where someone called you a snob.
Damn right. And I don't know. I guess maybe how it can come off as that, but then again, we can also have these deep dive discussions and do like real time business modeling where we can demonstrate our acumen to do exactly what Engineering Cannabis just said. Like look at different pieces and components and put it together in a more streamlined version of what currently exists. So we've demonstrated it consistently for 2 years now, right? So why would I shy away from what I use to try and make a mark in here as an industrialist? It's nothing to shy away from. It's nothing, I think the arrogance is well deserved.
Yeah, I like how you said that too, as an industrialist, because I don't see any industrialists like not being as like Steve Jobs, if you like to put it that way.
You ever watch like CNBC, right? And they have the CEO of a company, or CNBC, right? And they have a company, and they'll bring him on, and they'll ask him about like, so what's your quarterly analysis for blase 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 blah? I mean, do they sit up there with just like this dejected look, like, oh my god? They're going to talk about what their plan is to address it, and he's going to sit up there and he's just going to tell you confidently, this is what we're going to do as a company. It's incorporating a level of stoicism. There is a bit of don't give a what attitude. You have to, You have to make tough decisions. So you can't really be shaken by like trivial shit. You know, Nagona and I have these conversations all the damn time because I could be a bit of a hothead. So yeah, you know, but these are important attributes that we, you know, that one has to develop. And to the majority of people, it comes across as arrogance.
I think there's a good side to that little bit of arrogance that you have, because it shows that you are able to take that responsibility and take that role. And that's what sets us apart from people who are not willing to go that far into ownership of whatever it is they're doing. You know, it's kind of like, to break it down into like the easiest layman's terms, everybody wants to be a rapper, but how many people actually are able to take all the steps necessary to make it big in the rapping world? You know, so like that arrogance comes from having done the work, having done what it takes to get to that next level. So most people don't have what it takes, or aren't willing to take those steps. So that arrogance is kind of well earned. If that makes sense.
It's confidence, Mike. That's what it is. It's okay. Like if you've done something, you've done something. No one can take that away from you.
But
And
the arrogance is built with time. It's not built with time and experience.
Yep.
So it's not something just you can just brush away. It's, again, time, experience, knowledge base, and application. So it's, again, it's not something you can just scoff at. It's something that you can take pride in, because you've taken time to understand different aspects of different technologies that usually people do not want to basically focus on.
No, I mean that take like engineer Cam was saying, it takes time, man. It's weird to see a Zenio who comes out, like they're this big, know-it-all, and they really don't know nothing, but that comes with the territory. I think there's a snowflake in every single environment, so those are things that just comes with the territory. So I don't know, man. I think from the article, from the cybersecurity perspective, I really think that there's a misunderstanding of what cybersecurity really is, and a lot of people just really, I mean, you see some of these live streams in the manosphere, people talking about cybersecurity on, like they're the smartest guys in the room, and they really don't know what they're talking about most of the time. Cybersecurity is half business, half implementation. And so I spend almost probably 35 to maybe 40% of the time in business, from a business standpoint, understanding what the stakeholders want and what their expectations are going to be, for the foreseeable project. And then my role from a security standpoint is to do the assessment, is to do the risk assessment, and actually communicate all of the variables that's going to be involved in the project itself. I'm more of an advisor than anything else. So the cybersecurity that you see, these little images, these images that you see with some kid with a hoodie on his head and he's hunkered down on a laptop, that doesn't really happen like that. I'm dress shirt and tie every day. I don't wear hoodies. We don't really do things like that. That's a very stereotypical, gross misunderstanding of what cybersecurity is. It's not some Edward Snowden guy walking around, breaking things all the time. You do have pen testers or stuff like that, red team guys, but it's never some white kid with a hoodie and some glasses and stuff like that. It's just very gross misunderstanding of what cybersecurity is about.
It's the same way I talk about automation, how people are just talk of AI as a general stuff and it's going to take away our jobs, but they don't actually understand what automation is,
Mhm.
on how what automation does in terms of predictive analysis, in terms of efficiency. All I hear is automation is taking our jobs, but you have no underlying understanding what AI is, what deep learning is, what machine learning is, reinforcement learning is, how you can implement that with different technologies, and how that is going to revolutionize industries.
Mhm.
But all I hear is taking our jobs without people understanding what AI is.
Mhm.
And that's just, when I hear that, I'm like, nah.
Mhm.
Understand the underlying what AI is, mathematics and computer science, helping to make companies efficient, make your job and tax more efficient. So when I hear again people talk about AI when they don't have any underlying understanding about what AI is, again, and they people, and when they say it, people actually hear them and say, yes, he's saying the truth. And I'm like, no, he's not. They don't know what they're talking about. Have no clue what AI is. So again, be careful where your information is gotten from and take it with a grain of salt.
Mhm. Yeah, but those are the flourishing jobs. Some of these other jobs, yeah, they're fading, but for the sake of conversation here, most of the people who come here are looking at the entry level, and so take into consideration, you need more than just the A+. It might be in your best interest to get to ITIL. See, what ITIL does is it helps you understand the service management aspect of the business. If you know that and you understand that, it really helps you accelerate. And so ITL version 4, which came out last year, is actually critical now because it does feature automation of processes in DevOps now too. So just my opinion on all this. I'm no hater of anyone. We have our own platform. We don't actually have to leverage anybody else's platform to get our point out and pretend to be the smartest guys in the room. But definitely thank you all for joining us. If you are trying to get an IT for the first time and at the entry level, we do offer mentorship in that area. If you are transitioning from one IT role to another, we do offer IT coaching. If you have any questions about salary, cover letters, resumes, we do offer advice in that area as well. If you're in the tri-state area, you're looking for IT contracts, Nicole 11 does have recs on the table. To everyone else who participated in this, thank you for your contributions, and shalom.